When I found the hotel receipt tucked inside my husband's jacket pocket, I told myself it was for a business trip. When I saw her name written on it in his handwriting, I told myself there had to be an explanation. But when I looked up and saw the way she smiled at him across our kitchen table that morning, like she knew something I did not, I felt something inside me quietly shatter. Her name was Carmen. She had worked in our home for nearly 3 years. She cleaned our floors, folded our laundry, made my children breakfast when I left early for work. I trusted her. I paid her well. I even bought her Christmas gifts and remembered her birthday. I invited her to sit at our table when she stayed late. I asked about her family back home. I recommended her to my friends and neighbors, and my husband David had been sleeping with her. But that is not where this story begins. It begins much earlier, on a day when everything still felt normal, when I still believed that the life I had built, the marriage, the home, the carefully managed balance of work and motherhood, was solid, unshakable. When I still thought I knew the man I had married and the woman who cleaned my bathroom every Tuesday and Thursday, I was wrong about so many things. My name is Rebecca Ann Morrison, though everyone calls me Becca, and before everything fell apart, I genuinely thought I had it all figured out. David and I met in 2004 at a mutual friend's wedding in Asheville. I was 26, wearing a pale blue bridesmaid dress that I hated, standing at the open bar trying to decide between wine and champagne. He appeared beside me, tall and broad-shouldered, in a charcoal suit, and said something that made me laugh. I cannot even remember what it was now, but I remember the feeling, the ease of it, how natural it felt to talk to him. We spent the entire reception together. We danced to songs we did not know the words to. We snuck outside and sat on the stone wall overlooking the mountains, talking about our jobs, our families, our dreams. He told me he worked in logistics management for a shipping company. I told him I was trying to make it in marketing, climbing the corporate ladder one grueling campaign at a time. "You will make it," he said with such certainty that I almost believed him. By the end of the night, I had given him my number. 3 days later, he called. 6 months later, we were inseparable. 2 years after that, we were engaged. We got married in 2006 in a small ceremony by Lake Norman. Just family and close friends. My mother cried through the entire ceremony. David's father gave a toast about how he had never seen his son so happy. We honeymooned in the Outer Banks, stayed in a little beach cottage, ate fresh seafood every night, and made plans for our future. We bought our first house in 2007, a 3-bedroom colonial in a quiet suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina. The neighborhood was full of young families, tree-lined streets, good schools. It felt safe. It felt like the beginning of something solid. Emma was born in 2008, a week before her due date, with a full head of dark hair and my nose. Jacob followed 3 years later in 2011, loud and red-faced and perfect. David was a good father in those early years, patient with the sleepless nights, willing to change diapers, always ready to read another bedtime story. Our life fell into a rhythm. I went back to work when Emma was 4 months old, though it nearly broke my heart to leave her. We hired a nanny for the first few years, then switched to daycare when Jacob came along. David's job offered more flexibility, so he handled morning drop-offs while I managed evening pickups and bedtime routines. It was exhausting, but it was ours. We had date nights once a month, dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant, then a movie or a walk through uptown. We hosted Thanksgiving every year. We took the kids to the beach every summer. We attended every school play, every soccer game, every parent-teacher conference. From the outside, we looked like the perfect family. But somewhere between the diaper changes and the mortgage payments and the endless, grinding routine of work and parenting, David and I stopped really seeing each other. We stopped having conversations that mattered. We stopped asking each other about our days beyond the basic logistics. Did you pick up milk? Can you take Jacob to practice? What time is the parent-teacher meeting? Our marriage became a to-do list, a series of tasks to check off. We were efficient, organized, functional, but we were not connected. Not really. I told myself it was normal. This was what marriage looked like after 10 years, after kids, after the mortgage and the bills and the pressure of keeping everything afloat. Romance was for people who did not have real responsibilities. We were adults. We were partners. We were doing what needed to be done, and I was so tired. God, I was tired all the time. I was working 60-hour weeks at the marketing firm, managing 3 major accounts, trying to prove I deserved the promotion I had been chasing for 2 years. I left the house before sunrise, came home after dark, spent weekends catching up on laundry and meal prep and everything else that piled up during the week. I was drowning, but I did not know how to stop. David suggested we get help in the spring of 2018. It was a Tuesday evening. I had burned dinner, again, because I was trying to answer work emails while cooking. The smoke detector was shrieking. Emma was crying because she had a big test the next day and had not studied. Jacob was fighting with her about the television remote. And I just stood there in the kitchen, staring at the charred remains of what was supposed to be chicken parmesan, and I felt like I was going to break. David took the pan from my hands, turned off the stove, opened the windows to let out the smoke. "Becca," he said gently, "this is not sustainable." "I know," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "I know. I'm trying. You need help," he said. "We need help. Let me hire someone, just a few hours a week, someone to clean, maybe help with laundry. You cannot keep doing this." I wanted to argue. I wanted to say I could handle it, that I just needed to get more organized, and that asking for help felt like admitting defeat. But I was too tired to argue. "Okay," I said quietly. "Okay." The next day, David contacted a local cleaning service. They sent over 3 references. We interviewed them all. And then we met Carmen. Carmen Rodriguez was 32 years old when she first walked into our home. She was originally from Honduras, had moved to the United States 7 years earlier, and spoke English with a soft accent that made everything she said sound musical. She was petite, maybe 5 feet 3 inches tall, with long, dark hair she usually wore in a braid down her back. She had warm brown eyes and a smile that felt genuine. That first meeting, she sat at our kitchen table with her hands folded in her lap, answering our questions with quiet confidence. "I have been cleaning houses for 5 years," she said. "I have good references. I am reliable. I show up on time. I work hard." "Do you have experience with kids?" David asked. "Yes. I clean for 3 families with children. I am comfortable around kids. I have a younger brother back home. I helped raise him." Something about her put me at ease immediately. She was not pushy or overeager. She was just steady, calm. Exactly what we needed. We hired her that day. She started the following week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3 hours at a time. $150 a week, paid in cash at the end of each month. The first time she cleaned our house, I stayed home to show her around, to explain where everything was. She followed me through each room, taking notes in a small spiral notebook, asking questions about our preferences. "Do you want me to use any specific cleaning products? Are there any rooms you do not want me to enter? What time do the children come home from school?" She was thorough, professional, respectful. She moved through the house like she understood the weight of being invited into someone's private space. By the time I left for work that afternoon, the house smelled like lemon cleaner and fresh laundry. The floors were spotless. The counters gleamed. I called David from the car. "She is perfect," I said. "I told you," he replied, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "This is going to help so much." And for a while, it did. Carmen became part of our routine. She was there every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon when the kids got home from school. She would leave them snacks, apple slices and peanut butter, crackers and cheese, whatever she found in the pantry. She folded their clothes with care, organizing everything by person and placing the baskets outside their bedroom doors. She cleaned the bathrooms until they sparkled. She even started wiping down the baseboards, dusting the ceiling fans, organizing the pantry. Little extra touches I had not asked for but deeply appreciated. The kids liked her. Emma, who was usually shy around strangers, started chatting with Carmen about her books. Jacob showed Carmen his soccer trophies, gave her a full tour of his room, told her about his favorite video games. And David? David seemed grateful. He thanked her every time she finished working, sometimes chatted with her in the kitchen while she put away cleaning supplies. I was just relieved. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. I was not coming home to chaos every evening. The house was clean. The laundry was done. I had time to actually sit with my kids at dinner, to help Emma with her homework, to watch Jacob's soccer practices without feeling like I was failing at everything else. Carmen was exactly what we needed, or so I thought. About 6 months after we hired her, Carmen asked if she could increase her hours. She explained that she had lost one of her other clients and needed the extra income to send money back to her mother in Honduras. "Of course," I said immediately. "How many extra hours do you need?" "Maybe 2 more days a week, if that is okay?" I looked at David. He nodded. "That works for us," he said. "Mondays and Wednesdays?" "Yes, thank you so much. You have no idea how much this helps." So Carmen started coming 4 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 12 hours total. We increased her pay to $300 a week. She started staying later sometimes, especially on days when I had to work late. She would help the kids with their homework, make them simple dinners, pasta, grilled cheese, quesadillas. She became more than hired help. She became part of the household. I remember the first time I came home and found her cooking dinner for the whole family. It was a Friday evening in late summer. I had texted David that I was stuck in traffic, would not be home until 7. When I walked through the door, exhausted and hungry, the smell of garlic and onions filled the house. Soft music played from the Bluetooth speaker. Carmen was at the stove, stirring something in a large skillet. "Hi, Rebecca," she said, smiling. "I hope you do not mind. David said you were running late, so I thought I would make something for everyone. Chicken fajitas. Is that okay?" "That is more than okay," I said, setting my bag down. "That is amazing. Thank you." David came downstairs with the kids. We all sat at the table together, the 5 of us, and ate the meal Carmen had prepared. The kids chattered about their day. David asked Carmen about her family back home. She told us about her mother, her younger siblings, how much she missed them. It felt warm, comfortable, like Carmen was part of the family. After dinner, I helped her clean up while David got the kids ready for bed. "You did not have to do all this," I said, washing dishes while she dried. "I wanted to," she said. "You work so hard, Rebecca. You deserve to come home to a nice meal." I smiled at her, grateful. "Thank you, Carmen. Really, you are a lifesaver." She smiled back, but there was something in her eyes I could not quite read. something I would not understand until much, much later. The first time I felt something was off, it was so small I almost dismissed it entirely. It was a Saturday morning in late September. I had the day off, a rare luxury, and I decided to sleep in. David usually took the kids to their activities on Saturdays, while I caught up on rest or ran errands. But that morning, something woke me earlier than planned. A sound. Laughter. I lay in bed for a moment, listening. It was coming from downstairs. A woman's voice, light and musical, followed by David's deeper laugh. I got up, pulled on my robe, and padded downstairs barefoot. When I reached the kitchen, I stopped in the doorway. David and Carmen were sitting at the kitchen table together, mugs of coffee in front of them. She was wearing jeans and a pale pink blouse, her hair loose around her shoulders, instead of in her usual braid. David was still in his pajama pants and a faded college t-shirt, relaxed in a way I had not seen him in months. They were talking about something. I could not hear what. But the tone was easy, familiar, intimate even. Carmen said something that made David laugh again, a real laugh, the kind that crinkled the corners of his eyes and showed his teeth. I stood frozen in the doorway, unsure whether to interrupt. "Oh, good morning," Carmen said when she finally noticed me, her smile bright and immediate. "I hope we did not wake you. I made coffee. Would you like some?" "Sure," I said, stepping into the kitchen. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. "I did not realize you were coming today." "I asked her to," David said quickly, almost too quickly. "I thought we could finally get the garage organized. You have been saying we need to do that for months, and I figured today was as good a day as any." It made sense. It was logical. We had been talking about cleaning out the garage for over a year, but something about the way he said it, the slight defensiveness in his tone, the way he did not quite meet my eyes, made me pause. "Okay," I said slowly, pouring myself a cup of coffee. "That is nice of you to help, Carmen. Thank you." She smiled again, but this time I noticed how her eyes flicked to David, as if checking for his reaction, as if they shared some unspoken understanding. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself they were just being friendly, that there was nothing wrong with my husband and our housekeeper having coffee and laughing together on a Saturday morning. But the image stayed with me, the ease between them, the intimacy of it. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing other things. Small things that individually meant nothing, but together began to form a pattern I could not ignore. David started coming home later from work. He would text me around 5, saying he had a meeting that ran long, or a project that needed his attention. He would walk through the door at 7 or 8, sometimes later, claiming exhaustion but looking almost energized, like he was carrying a secret that made him feel alive. He was on his phone more often, texting with a small smile on his face that disappeared the moment I walked into the room. When I asked who he was talking to, he would say, "Just work stuff," or "a guy from the office," and change the subject. He started dressing better. New shirts appeared in his closet, fitted button-downs in colors he had never worn before. He bought new cologne, something woodsy and expensive that replaced the cheap drugstore brand he had used for years. "When did you buy this?" I asked one morning, catching the scent as he walked past me. "Last week," he said casually, not looking up from his phone. "The old one ran out. It smells nice." "Thanks." That was it. No further explanation. No, "Do you like it?" Or, "I thought I would try something new." Just a flat acknowledgement and a return to his phone. I also noticed that Carmen's hours had increased again. She was coming 5, sometimes 6 days a week now, often staying late into the evening. The extra hours meant we were paying her nearly $500 a week, $2,000 a month. When I mentioned this to David, he shrugged. "She needs the money," he said. "And honestly, it helps us too. You are always saying how overwhelmed you are. This takes the pressure off." He was right. It did help, but I could not shake the feeling that something else was going on. Something beneath the surface of these reasonable explanations. One evening in early October, I came home around 6:30 to find Carmen still there, even though her shift should have ended 2 hours earlier. She was in the laundry room, folding clothes. "Carmen, you did not have to stay," I said. "I could have finished this." "Oh, I do not mind," she said, not looking up from the basket of towels in front of her. "David asked me to make sure everything was done before I left." "David asked you?" "Yes. He said you had a big presentation this week and he wanted to make sure you did not have to worry about anything at home." It was a thoughtful gesture. The kind of thing the old David would have done. So why did it make my stomach twist? "Where is David?" I asked. "Upstairs with the kids. He got home about an hour ago." I nodded, then headed upstairs. David was in Emma's room, helping her with math homework. He looked up when I appeared in the doorway. "Hey," he said. "How was your day?" "Fine. Long. Carmen said you asked her to stay late?" "Yeah. I figured you could use the help. Is that okay?" "Of course. You could have asked me first." He frowned slightly. "I did not think I needed permission to ask our housekeeper to do her job." "That is not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" There was an edge to his voice that had not been there before. A sharpness. I took a breath, trying to stay calm. "Nothing. Never mind. Thank you for thinking of me." He turned back to Emma's homework, and I walked away, feeling like I had just been dismissed. That night, I lay in bed beside him, staring at the ceiling while he scrolled through his phone. The blue light cast shadows across his face, making him look like a stranger. "David," I said softly. "Yeah? Do you think we are okay?" He paused, thumb hovering over the screen. "What do you mean?" "I do not know. It just feels like we are distant lately." He was quiet for a long moment. Too long. "We are fine, Becca," he said finally, still not looking at me. "We are just busy. That is all." "Are you sure? Because if something is wrong—" "Nothing is wrong." His tone was final, almost harsh. "You are overthinking things. You always do this." I felt the words like a slap. But I did not respond. I just rolled over, facing the wall, and waited for sleep to come. But I could not stop thinking about the way Carmen had smiled at him in the kitchen. The way they laughed together. The way David's whole demeanor changed when she was around. Lighter, happier, more present. More present with her than he had been with me in years. The truth came to me in pieces, like shards of broken glass that cut deeper with each one I picked up. It started with money. In late October, I was reviewing our bank statements, something I did every month to keep track of our budget and make sure we were staying on target with savings. We were careful with money. We had 2 kids to put through college someday, a mortgage, car payments. Every dollar mattered. As I scrolled through the transactions, I noticed several cash withdrawals I could not account for. $200 here, $300 there, sometimes $500 at a time. They were all taken from the ATM near David's office. I pulled up a spreadsheet and started tallying them. Over the course of September alone, David had withdrawn over $1,500 in cash beyond what we normally took out. I asked him about it the next morning over breakfast. "Hey, I was looking at the bank statement yesterday," I said casually, spreading jam on my toast. "I noticed some cash withdrawals I did not recognize." Do you know what those were for? David did not look up from his phone. Oh, that, he said. I have been giving Carmen bonuses. She has been working extra hours, and I wanted to make sure she felt appreciated. I set down my knife. Bonuses? David, we already pay her more than most people pay. They're housekeepers. I know, but she is doing so much for us. She is practically family at this point. I thought it was the right thing to do. Family. The word sat heavy in my chest. How much have you been giving her? He shrugged. I do not know. A couple hundred here and there. That is more than a couple hundred. That is $1,500 in 1 month? Now he looked up, his expression defensive. It is my money too, Becca. I work just as hard as you do. I was stunned. We had never fought about money before. We had always been a team, making decisions together. I am not saying you do not work hard, I said carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. I am just saying that when we are spending extra money, significant amounts, we should discuss it first. That is all. He sighed, rubbing his face. You are right. I am sorry. I should have told you. I will be more mindful going forward. But he was not. The withdrawals continued. By November, he had taken out nearly $4,000 in cash. I asked him about it twice more, and both times he gave me vague explanations or got defensive, telling me I was being controlling, that he was allowed to spend his own money. I stopped asking. I told myself it was not worth the fight. But the question gnawed at me. What was he spending all that money on? And then, in early December, I found the receipt. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was doing laundry. David's work clothes, jeans, shirts, jackets. I always checked the pockets before throwing things in the wash because he was notorious for leaving things in there. Receipts, pens, loose change. That day, as I emptied the pockets of his navy blazer, I found a crumpled piece of paper. I almost threw it away without looking, but something made me smooth it out. It was a receipt from a hotel, the Greenbrier Inn, downtown Charlotte. A boutique hotel known for its luxury rooms and discretion. A 2-night stay. The date was from the previous weekend. The weekend David had told me he was at a conference in Raleigh. My hands started to shake. I looked closer. The total was nearly $800. And at the bottom, in David's handwriting, was a note. Carmen, room 203. The world tilted. I sat down hard on the edge of the bed, the receipt clutched in my hand, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might be sick. Carmen, our maid, the woman I had welcomed into my home, the woman I had trusted with my children, the woman I had paid, thanked, confided in. I tried to think of another explanation. Maybe she had needed a place to stay. Maybe her apartment had flooded, or she had been having some kind of emergency. Maybe David was just helping her out of kindness, and I was jumping to conclusions. But I knew, deep down, in the part of me that had been noticing all the small signs and dismissing them, I knew. My husband was having an affair with our housekeeper. I did not cry. Not then. I just sat there, staring at that receipt, feeling something inside me crack and then go very, very cold. After a long time, I got up. I folded the receipt carefully and put it in my wallet. Then I finished the laundry like nothing had happened. That evening, I cooked dinner. I helped Jacob with his homework. I tucked both kids into bed and kissed them goodnight. I came downstairs and sat on the couch next to David, who was watching a football game. How was your day? He asked absently, eyes on the screen. Fine, I said. Yours? Good. Busy. We sat in silence, two people sharing a couch but existing in completely different worlds. I did not confront him that night. I could not. I needed proof. I needed to be absolutely certain before I blew up our lives. So I started watching, really watching. I noticed the way his face lit up when Carmen walked into a room, the way they found excuses to be near each other, her handing him a dish towel, him brushing past her in the hallway, their hands touching just a moment too long. I noticed the way they texted constantly, even when she was not at our house. David's phone would buzz, and he would smile before even looking at the screen, as if he already knew who it was. I started checking his phone while he was in the shower. It was not locked. He had never felt the need to lock it before. And at first, I found nothing. No text from Carmen, no suspicious calls. Then I realized he had probably deleted them, but he had not deleted them from his laptop. One evening, when David was at the gym and the kids were asleep, I opened his laptop. I knew his password. It had been the same for years, a combination of his birthday and Emma's name. I went to his iMessage app, where all his texts synced from his phone, and there they were. Hundreds of messages between him and Carmen, going back over a year. My hands trembled as I scrolled through them. "I cannot stop thinking about you," he had written. "Me neither," she had replied. "When can I see you again?" "Tomorrow, same place." "I wish we did not have to hide." "Soon, I promise. Just a little longer." There were photos, selfies of them together. At restaurants I did not recognize, in hotel rooms, lying in bed together with sheets pulled up to their bare shoulders. In some photos, Carmen was wearing jewelry I had never seen before. A delicate gold necklace, diamond earrings, a bracelet with a small charm. Jewelry my husband had bought her with money we should have been saving for our children's future. I clicked on the most recent messages from just 2 days earlier. Carmen. "She suspects something." David. "No, she does not. She is too wrapped up in her own world to notice." Carmen. "Are you sure? She has been looking at me differently." David. "Trust me. Becca does not pay attention to anything except work and the kids. She barely even looks at me anymore." Carmen. "When are you going to tell her?" David. "Soon, after the holidays. I do not want to ruin Christmas for the kids." Carmen. "I love you." David. I love you too, more than anything." I closed the laptop carefully, as if it might explode. Then I walked upstairs to our bedroom, locked the door, went into the bathroom, turned on the shower to muffle the sound, and finally let myself break. I cried until I could not breathe. I cried until my ribs hurt and my throat was raw. I cried for the marriage I had thought was just tired, not dying. I cried for the trust I had given so freely. I cried for my children, who were about to have their world turned upside down. And then, when there were no more tears left, I wiped my face, turned off the shower, and made a decision. I was not going to fall apart. I was not going to beg David to stay or fight for a marriage he had already abandoned. I was not going to make a scene or scream or fall to pieces. I was going to be strategic. I was going to protect myself and my children. I was going to make sure that when this was all over, we would be okay. I was going to plan. The next morning, I called in sick to work. David had already left for the office, and I had dropped the kids at school like it was any other day. Then I drove to a coffee shop across town, ordered a latte I did not drink, and made a phone call. "Law offices of Patricia Chen. How may I help you?" "I need to speak with Patricia, please. It is about a divorce." Patricia Chen was a family law attorney my coworker had recommended months earlier, when another friend was going through a messy separation. I had filed the name away, never thinking I would actually need it. Now, I did. Patricia could see me that afternoon. I met her at her office at 2 p.m., a small suite in a professional building near Uptown. She was in her mid-40s, sharply dressed, with kind eyes that had clearly seen their share of heartbreak. I told her everything. About Carmen. About the hotel receipt. About the messages. About the money. About how long this had been going on right under my nose. She listened without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me directly. I am so sorry you are going through this, but I have to ask, what do you want? I want to protect my children, I said immediately. I want to keep the house. I want primary custody. I do not want them uprooted any more than they have to be. And what about David? He can have visitation. I am not going to keep the kids from their father. But I want him out of the house. I want the house in my name. I do not care about his pension or his retirement accounts. I just want stability for Emma and Jacob. Patricia nodded. We can do that. North Carolina is an equitable distribution state, which means marital property gets divided fairly, not necessarily equally. Given that you have evidence of his affair and his financial misuse, those cash withdrawals, we have a strong case for you keeping the house. What do I need to do? First, we gather evidence. Print out all those messages. Save the hotel receipt. Pull bank statements showing the cash withdrawals. Document everything. Then I will file the divorce papers. We will have him served at his office so it does not happen in front of the kids. How long will this take? It depends on whether he contests it. If he agrees to our terms, we could have this finalized in a few months. If he fights, it could take longer. I nodded, feeling numb. One more thing, Patricia said. You cannot confront him yet. If you tip him off before we file, he might start hiding assets or deleting evidence. I know it is hard, but you need to act normal until we have everything in place. Act normal. Pretend my marriage was not already over. Pretend I did not know my husband was in love with another woman. Pretend every smile, every mundane conversation, every moment of our shared life was not a lie. I can do that, I said, and I did. For the next 3 weeks, I became someone I did not recognize. I went to work. I came home. I made dinner. I helped with homework. I did laundry. I smiled at Carmen when she arrived and thanked her when she left. I asked David about his day and listened to his lies. At night, I lay beside him in our bed, feeling the weight of his deception pressing down on me like a physical thing. He had no idea. During those 3 weeks, I also started preparing practically. I moved important documents, birth certificates, social security cards, passports, to a safety deposit box at my bank. I opened a separate checking account in my name only and transferred money into it. I changed the passwords on all my personal accounts. I took photos of everything in the house: furniture, electronics, jewelry, anything of value, in case David tried to claim I had hidden or sold things during the divorce. I documented everything Carmen did when she came and went, how much time she spent alone with David. I made copies of the bank statements showing the cash withdrawals and created a spreadsheet tracking every dollar. And I printed out every single message between David and Carmen. Pages and pages of them. Evidence of betrayal in black and white. Patricia filed the divorce papers on a Wednesday morning in early January 2019. David was served at his office that afternoon. I found out from Patricia's assistant, who called me at 3 p.m. The process server just confirmed that David Morrison has been served. He is legally notified of the divorce proceedings. You should expect him to contact you soon. My hands were shaking when I hung up the phone. I left work early, picked up the kids from school, and took them to get ice cream. I wanted them to have a good afternoon, something happy to remember before everything changed. When we got home, David's car was already in the driveway. He was sitting at the kitchen table, the divorce papers spread out in front of him. He looked up when we walked in, and I saw something in his face I had never seen before. Panic. "Kids, go upstairs and start your homework," I said calmly. "I need to talk to Dad for a minute." Emma looked between us, sensing the tension. "Mom!" "Upstairs. Now, please." They went reluctantly. When I heard their bedroom doors close, I turned to David. "We need to talk," I said. David stood up from the kitchen table, the divorce papers crumpling in his grip. "What the hell is this, Becca?" His voice was loud, angry, but underneath it I heard something else. Fear. "It is exactly what it looks like," I said calmly, setting my purse down on the counter. "I am divorcing you? Over what? What did I do?" I almost laughed. The audacity of the question was stunning. "Do you really want to do this?" I asked quietly. "Do you really want to stand there and pretend you do not know?" His jaw clenched. "If this is about the money, it is not about the money." I walked over to the table and pulled a folder from my bag. Inside were printed copies of his messages with Carmen, the hotel receipt, the bank statements. I spread them out in front of him like playing cards. "It is about this." He stared down at the evidence of his affair, and all the color drained from his face. "Becca, I can explain." "Do not." My voice was sharp now, cutting. "Do not stand there and insult me by trying to explain this away. I have seen everything, David, every message, every photo, every lie you have told me for the past year. It was not supposed to happen, but it did." I stepped closer, my hands shaking but my voice steady. "You made a choice. You chose to cheat on me with our housekeeper. You chose to spend thousands of dollars on her while I was working 60-hour weeks trying to keep this family afloat. You chose her over me, over our children. So do not stand there and tell me it was not supposed to happen. You made it happen." He opened his mouth, then closed it again. "When did you find out?" he asked finally. "Does it matter?" "Yes, it matters to me. I found the hotel receipt 6 weeks ago. I have been planning this ever since." He looked genuinely shocked. 6 weeks? You have known for 6 weeks and did not say anything?" "What was I supposed to say, David? Was I supposed to scream and cry and beg you to choose me? Was I supposed to make a scene in front of our children? No. I needed to be smart. I needed to protect them. And I needed to make sure that when this was over, they would still have a stable home." He sank back into the chair, his head in his hands. "I never wanted to hurt you." "Well, you did. Congratulations." We sat in silence for a long moment. Upstairs, I could hear the muffled sound of Emma's music playing, Jacob's footsteps moving across his room. "Where is she?" I asked quietly. "Who?" "Carmen. Does she know you have been served?" David did not answer, which was answer enough. "Get out," I said. He looked up. "What?" "Get out of my house, tonight. Pack a bag and leave." "Becca, this is my house too." "Not anymore. Read the papers, David. I am keeping the house. You can fight me on it if you want, but my lawyer is very confident we will win. You committed adultery, you misused marital funds, and I have documentation of all of it. So you can leave voluntarily tonight, or you can make this ugly and leave anyway. Your choice." His face went red. "You are really going to do this? You are going to throw away 14 years of marriage?" "I am not the one who threw it away." My voice broke slightly, but I steadied it. "You did that all on your own." At that moment, we heard a soft knock on the door, then a key turning in the lock. Carmen walked in like she always did, like she belonged here. She stopped when she saw us, her eyes widening. I am sorry. I did not know. Get out, I said, my voice like ice. Rebecca, please, let me explain. There is nothing to explain. You have been sleeping with my husband. You have been taking money from my family. You have been lying to my face for over a year. So get out of my house and do not ever come back. She looked at David, waiting for him to defend her, to tell her it was okay to choose her. He said nothing. Tears welled up in her eyes. David, Carmen, you should go, he said quietly. She stood there for another moment, her face crumpling, and then she turned and walked out. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I turned back to David. You have until tomorrow morning to get your things and leave. I will tell the kids after you are gone. You can tell them whatever you want about why you are moving out, but I am going to tell them the truth eventually. Not all of it. They do not need all the details, but they deserve to know that their father broke our family, not me. Becca, I have nothing more to say to you, David. Talk to your lawyer. Do not talk to me. I walked out of the kitchen, went upstairs, and locked myself in the bathroom. Only then, with the water running to cover the sound, did I let myself cry again. David moved out the next day. He packed 3 suitcases, loaded them into his car, and left without saying goodbye to the kids. He texted me from wherever he went, I assumed Carmen's apartment, asking when he could see them. Not yet, I texted back. I need to tell them first. That evening, I sat Emma and Jacob down at the kitchen table. I had thought about what to say for days, rehearsed it in my head, but when the moment came, I still was not sure I could get through it. There is something I need to tell you, I said, my voice shaking. Dad and I are getting divorced. Emma's eyes filled with tears immediately. What? Why? Because sometimes people grow apart. Sometimes marriages do not work out, even when we want them to. But you and Dad seemed fine, she said, her voice rising. You were fine. We were not fine, sweetheart. We have not been fine for a long time. You just did not see it. Is there someone else? Emma asked suddenly, her eyes sharp. Did one of you cheat? She was 12, but she was smart. Too smart to lie to. Yes, I said quietly. Your dad, he made some choices that broke my trust. That is all you need to know right now. Who was it? Emma, who was it, Mom? I closed my eyes. Carmen. The silence that followed was deafening. Our Carmen? Jacob said finally, his voice small. Our maid? Yes. But she was nice, he said, confused. She made me snacks. She helped me with homework. I know, baby, I know. Emma stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. I hate him, she said, tears streaming down her face. I hate him. Emma? No, he is a liar. He is awful. I do not want to see him ever again. She ran upstairs, and I heard her bedroom door slam. Jacob stayed at the table, staring at his hands. Is Dad still going to live with us? He asked quietly. No, sweetie. He moved out today, but you will still see him. He is still your dad. He still loves you. If he loved us, he would not have done this. The simplicity of his logic broke my heart. It is complicated, Jacob, but I promise you, none of this is your fault. This is between me and Dad. You and Emma did nothing wrong. He nodded, but I could see he did not really believe me. Over the next few weeks, the fallout spread beyond our immediate family. I told my mother and my sister. They were furious, supportive, devastated on my behalf. My mother wanted to call David and scream at him. My sister offered to fly down from Virginia and stay with me. I am okay. I told them both, even though I was not sure that was true. I just need time. Word got out in the neighborhood. At first, I did not know how. Maybe David told someone, or maybe people just noticed his car was no longer in the driveway. But soon, I started getting sympathetic looks at school pickup. Casseroles dropped off on my porch with notes that said, "Thinking of you." One of my neighbors, a woman I barely knew beyond polite waves, stopped me at the mailbox one day. "I heard about what happened," she said. "I just want you to know, we all think you are handling this with so much grace." "Thank you," I said, though I did not feel graceful. I felt like I was barely holding myself together. "And just so you know," she continued, lowering her voice, "Carmen used to work for us. We let her go because my husband started acting strange around her. Nothing happened, but I did not like it. I should have warned you. I am so sorry." I stared at her. "She did this before?" "I do not know for sure, but I had my suspicions." I thanked her and walked back inside, my mind reeling. Carmen had a pattern. She targeted families where the wife was busy, where the husband felt neglected. She made herself indispensable. She became part of the family. And then she took what was not hers. I felt sick. At work, I told my boss and a few close coworkers what was happening. They were shocked, supportive, gave me space when I needed it. One coworker, a woman who had gone through a similar situation years earlier, took me to lunch and said something I will never forget. "You are going to feel 1,000 different emotions over the next few months. Anger, sadness, relief, guilt, everything. Let yourself feel all of it. Do not try to be strong all the time. Just survive. That is all you have to do right now." So, that is what I did. I survived. David tried to see the kids multiple times. Emma refused. Jacob went a few times, but came home quiet and withdrawn. Eventually, I insisted they both go, that they needed to maintain a relationship with their father. But I did not force them to pretend everything was okay. In February, 2 months after David moved out, I heard through a mutual friend that he and Carmen had broken up. Apparently, once the thrill of the affair wore off, and they had to deal with real life, bills, routines, the reality of what they had done, the relationship fell apart. Carmen moved back to Honduras to be with her family. David moved into a small apartment alone. I felt nothing when I heard the news. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just emptiness. He had destroyed our family for something that did not even last. The divorce was finalized in June of 2019, 6 months after I filed. David did not contest the terms. He agreed to let me keep the house, agreed to the custody arrangement, agreed to pay child support. I think, on some level, he knew he had no ground to stand on. The house was officially mine. Our house. Me and Emma and Jacob. That first night, after the final papers were signed and filed, I walked through every room slowly. I touched the walls, looked out the windows, stood in the kitchen where so much of our life had happened. It felt different now, lighter, like something heavy had been lifted. I started making changes, small ones at first. I repainted the living room a warm cream color that David had always hated, but I loved. I bought new bedding for the master bedroom, soft gray instead of the navy David had chosen. I rearranged furniture, hung new pictures, brought in plants. I was reclaiming the space, making it mine. The kids adjusted slowly. Emma eventually agreed to see David, though their relationship remained strained for a long time. Jacob was more forgiving, but even he kept his father at arm's length. They both started therapy, which helped more than I expected. They learned how to process their anger and confusion in healthy ways. They learned that their parents' divorce was not their fault. And I started therapy too. I spent months working through the betrayal, the anger, the grief of losing the life I thought I had. I talked about how I had ignored my own instincts, how I had let myself become so busy and exhausted that I stopped paying attention to my marriage. My therapist helped me see that while I could have done things differently, David's choices were not my fault. He was an adult. He made decisions, and those decisions had consequences. I also talked about Carmen, about how violated I felt that someone I had trusted, someone I had welcomed into my home and paid and treated with kindness, had betrayed me so completely. "Do you think she targeted you?" my therapist asked once. "I do not know," I said. "Maybe. Or maybe she was just someone who made bad choices. Either way, it does not matter now. She is gone." Slowly, I started to rebuild. I got the promotion I had been chasing at work. I reconnected with old friends I had drifted away from during the exhausting years of young motherhood. I started running in the mornings before work, just for myself, just to feel strong again. I took the kids on trips, to the beach, to the mountains, to visit family. We created new memories, new traditions. We learned how to be a family of 3 instead of 4. And I learned how to be alone, how to make decisions without consulting anyone else, how to sleep in the middle of the bed, how to enjoy my own company. I was not lonely. I was independent. 1 year after the divorce, on a warm evening in June, I sat on the back porch with a glass of wine and watched the sunset. Emma was inside reading. Jacob was in his room playing video games. The house was quiet, peaceful. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt genuinely happy. Not the desperate, clinging to normal happiness I had faked for so long. Real happiness. The kind that comes from knowing you survived something terrible and came out stronger on the other side. It has been 3 years now since I found that hotel receipt in David's jacket pocket. 3 years since my world shattered and I had to piece it back together with my bare hands. If someone had told me back then that I would be okay, that I would be more than okay, that I would be happy, I would not have believed them. In those early days, I could not see past the pain. I could not imagine a future that did not include David. I could not fathom how I would raise 2 children alone, keep the house running, manage my job, and somehow heal from the deepest betrayal I had ever experienced. But here I am. Emma is 15 now, thriving in high school, already thinking about college. She wants to be a lawyer. I think she will be amazing at it. She is fierce, passionate, uncompromising in her sense of justice. Jacob is 12, still playing soccer, still filling the house with noise and laughter. He has forgiven his father more easily than Emma has, which I think is healthy. Everyone processes these things differently. As for David, he is part of their lives, but not part of mine. He sees the kids every other weekend and some holidays. He pays child support on time. He has not remarried, has not had another serious relationship that I know of. I think what happened with Carmen taught him something, though I am not sure what. I do not hate him. I do not think about him much at all anymore. He is just someone I used to know, someone I used to love, someone who taught me what I will not accept in my life ever again. I have not dated seriously since the divorce. A few times friends have tried to set me up, and I have gone on a couple of dinners that were fine, but led nowhere. I am not opposed to love. I am just not looking for it. Right now, I am focused on me, on my kids, on building a life that feels authentic and whole. Maybe someday I will meet someone who deserves my trust. Someone who shows up, who does the work, who does not take me for granted. Someone who sees me not as a convenience or a service, but as a partner, an equal, a person worthy of respect and honesty. But if I do not, that is okay too. I do not need someone else to complete me. I am already complete. Looking back, I can see the warning signs I missed. The way David started dressing better, coming home late, being emotionally distant. The way Carmen inserted herself into our lives, slowly but steadily, until she was indispensable. The way they laughed together, looked at each other, found excuses to be close. I should have seen it sooner, but I was tired. I was overwhelmed. I was trusting. And that is not a crime. Trusting the person you married is not foolish. It is what you are supposed to do in a marriage. David broke that trust. Not me. So I have forgiven myself for not seeing it sooner. I have forgiven myself for all the times I told myself I was imagining things, for all the times I chose to believe the best instead of confronting the worst. I have forgiven myself. And that might be the most important part of healing. If I could go back and change things, would I? Maybe. But I also know that everything I went through made me who I am today. It taught me what I am capable of. It taught me that I do not need a partner to survive, to raise children, to build a life. It taught me my own strength, and I would not trade that knowledge for anything. To anyone out there who is going through something similar, who has discovered a betrayal, who is facing the collapse of a relationship you thought was solid, who is wondering how you will ever survive this, I want you to know something. You will. It will not be easy. It will be one of the hardest things you have ever done. There will be days when you do not want to get out of bed, days when the weight of everything feels unbearable, days when you question every decision you have ever made. But you will get through it. You will wake up one morning and realize you did not think about them all day. You will laugh at something your child says and feel genuine joy. You will look around your home, your space, your sanctuary, and feel proud of what you have built. You will heal, and you will be stronger for it. So let me ask you this. If you were in my position, what would you have done? Would you have confronted David immediately, or would you have planned like I did? Would you have tried to save the marriage, or would you have walked away? And if you have been through something like this, how did you survive? What helped you heal? I would love to hear your stories. Leave a comment and tell me. We are all in this together, navigating life's hardest moments, and sometimes just knowing we are not alone makes all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And if you are going through something hard right now, please know you are stronger than you think. You are worthy of love, honesty, and respect. And you will get through this. I promise.